In this lecture, I will introduce two of the derived rules for the disjunction. These rules are among the type that are one-way rules. I'll explain the difference between, you'll see the difference when we get to the two-way rules. It'll become clear. One-way rules work the same way as all of our rules have so far. They're one-way rules. So from a set of premises, you can get a certain conclusion. The way the two-way rules are going to work is that given one statement, you can convert it into another statement that's logically equivalent, and then vice versa. That's why they're called two-way rules, or we'll call them also rules of replacement. Okay, so the first rule that I want to introduce you to should be familiar to you from the first part of our course. It's the rule of disjunctive syllogism. And we're going to abbreviate that using the abbreviation capitals DS. Okay, so the way the rule of disjunctive syllogism works is if you have a disjunction and you have the negation of one of its disjuncts, then you can derive the other disjunct. So if you have P or Q and you have not P, then you can derive Q. And if you have P or Q and you have not Q, then you can derive P. And this makes sense when you think about the truth table for OR. If P or Q is true, then we know that one or the other of the disjuncts are true, or both. But then if we know that one of the disjuncts is false, then we know for sure that the other must be true. So if we know P or Q is true, and then we know P is false, or not P is true, then we know that Q is true. So that's the way the rule of disjunctive syllogism works. It's a pretty nifty little rule. Now let's talk about the rule of cut. And there's no abbreviation for cut. We'll just call it cut when we use it, because that's pretty short. You don't really need an abbreviation. So the way the rule of cut works is if you have some disjunction, and then you have another disjunction that contains as the left disjunct of the second statement, it needs to be the negation of the left disjunct of the first statement, if that makes sense. If you see what I'm saying. Then you can get the statement. Then you can create a disjunction out of the two remaining disjuncts of your argument. So, for example, what wouldn't fulfill the rule of cut is if you have P or Q and then you have R or not P. Even though this is clearly equivalent to what is the correct form, we can't use it. It needs to be in exactly this form. Now, the premises don't need to be in this particular order, but you need to have the premises set up this way. So if you have this, you're going to have to do commutation, what's called commutation, which is another rule that I'll get to in a little bit in a different video. So if you have that, you're going to need to convert it into something you can use. But otherwise, it's a pretty straightforward rule and surprisingly useful in a number of different settings.